All right, we're
Now it's
live.
live.
We are live. Well, guys, first, Iowa Live, all things Iowa. We're going to go over quite a few things. We're going to start with the housing since I got my, I guess, unofficial team member, Tim Sherbring, on. We're going to kind of go over our neck of the woods, Cedar Rapids, but all of Iowa, really, and go over all things Iowa. So, Tim, um, what have you been seeing in the market, I guess? We'll start with that.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think inventory is starting to come back on the market. Interest rates kind of been holding steady at that 6.5 to 7% range. I think that has some buyers still holding back, but there's definitely buyers out there. Um, and as always, I mean, people have to move. So no matter what rates do, no matter what the housing market wants to do, people still have to pick up and move sometimes. So that's all we do is try to watch the numbers, see what the trends are. In comparison to last year, we definitely have seen an uptick in inventory, but pending sales seem to be lagging behind percentage-wise as to what the inventory is doing.
Yeah, I mean, guys, drop your questions in the comments here, but we're gonna kind of go over. We're gonna start over with like Redfin's data. The median sale price right now is 232, which it looks like almost an all-time high. Is what I'm seeing. Is that what you're seeing, Tim?
Yeah, prices have gone up. I know nationally, I think 9 out of the last 12 months nationally reported record-breaking home prices. So with the interest rates going up, everybody kind of assumed prices would come down, or that was kind of the hopes of it, kind of plateau it, but it still seems to be inclined. Prices still keep going up. So hopefully that trend somewhat continues to stabilize the market. But yeah, I think prices have been continually rising these past few months.
Yeah, it looks like June actually last year. And I don't know if we'll catch that because we only go to April. You know, April of last year, we're at 224. We're at 232 now. That's all of Iowa, though. So we are up about $8,000 from last year. Then we'll kind of go down. So the fastest growing sale price in Iowa is actually Ottumwa, Iowa. So I don't know if anyone on this is considering Ottumwa. Cedar Rapids, where we're at, is actually number 2 to my surprise. You kind of surprised by that too, Tim?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, prices continue to go up. I mean, that's what we've been seeing in the Cedar Rapids market.
Do you see Cedar Rapids as number 2 right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the graph is showing.
So Spencer's asking, with a median sale price of 232, what is that house size? What would you tell him, Tim?
Oh boy, I mean, I could probably pull that up real quick. 232. I mean, just to play a little game, guess what that would be. I would say 12 to 1300 square foot ranch, basement's finished, 2-car garage, probably built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, something like that. An established neighborhood. Um, probably a few updates, but I would not guess fully updates with a lot of modern finishes.
Yeah, I'd have to say I agree. Like kind of that Kennedy area,
Yeah,
in our market.
Northwest, Southwest, Canada. I mean, you can get it anywhere. 232 is a popular price where you should have a lot of inventory.
And a lot of competition.
A lot of competition. that's a price point a lot of people want.
Yeah, so if you're looking, Spencer, in that that 200, 250 range, just be prepared to have all your ducks in a row, because those homes tend to, if it's a nicer one, go rather quick, especially in the Cedar Rapids area. But from partners I have across the state, they say the same thing. So yeah, 232, probably like you said, smaller ranch with with a finished basement, maybe a 2-stall detached, but it should be in good condition.
I'm running a quick report just to kind of see what activity has been for that price point in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, Spencer. So the square foot would include the basement. It depends, Actually, I don't know, Tim. Do you think that you could probably get like 1,600 square foot? Don't you think, with the basement?
Yeah, it just depends on condition, honestly. If they've got nice kitchen, the more square footage you have at 232, it's going to need some work probably, or need some updating. So it just depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for square footage and keeping the price low, it'll need some updates. If you don't want to put a lot of work into it and you want to spend 232, then the square footage will probably be a little bit lower, but you're going to get nice amenities.
Yeah, yeah, and it's gonna be a cleaner home in general. Maybe some updated landscaping, but if it gets much more than that 1,400 square foot, you're probably going to be looking at, around 250 or above, honestly. And it depends on how much land you got. If you got an acreage, those are pretty much going to start at 250, and that would be a fixer, at 250.
Yeah, I just did 210 to 230 in Cedar Rapids, so that would encompass northeast, southwest, northwest. There's 193 showings in 30 days for residential properties in Cedar Rapids. So that's, you're looking at probably an average of 8 to 10, maybe 12 showings per property at that price point. That as you move up, I just did a report at 330 on the northeast side of Cedar Rapids for a listing of mine, and the average is only 4 showings in a 30-day period. So that price point is obviously very popular due to demand and rising interest rates that people can't necessarily stretch up to the $300,000 price point.
Yeah, and the number of homes for sale the last 3 years, obviously, we're still way down. From April, we're a little bit up, but it's definitely not. We definitely still have a supply issue. That's pretty apparent in Iowa, at least. Then if we go to demand is also, real low, but I would say it's increasing because, supply is increasing.
Well, a lot of that graph, a lot of that is, it's generally trending down, but a lot of that is just year over year. The down points are, basically the first of the year, and then it increases after the first of the year. So
we should see a spike all the way through July, at least.
Correct.
If you want to go by history.
Yeah.
I guess the most competitive cities are Windsor Heights, all the way to Cedar Falls. And this kind of gives you an idea. We're kind of in the middle of the pack, when it comes to people moving. We're always kind of there. We had our first, I think, positive year. 6,000 people moved to Iowa, I think the governor said last year. And usually we lose a few. It's usually pretty even, though. And obviously California and New York are losing a lot of people. Washington, Illinois next to us. I have a buyer right now. I'm going to be showing 2 homes tonight, is actually from Naperville, which is a suburb of Chicago. So that kind of gives you an idea, but I want to keep it going. And obviously this is about real estate, but I also want to go to a few headlines that Governor Reynolds so we had that. I don't know how many of you know this, but we had a really big tornado. Where was that? Greenfield, was it?
Yeah.
In southwest Iowa. So this is kind of what Governor Reynolds is doing for that huge tornado. And we'll be talking about tornadoes here shortly. But May 31st, that big tornado happened, the severe weather, and Iowa Individual Assistance Grant Program is going to provide $5,000 for households with incomes up to 200% of the federal poverty level. So not quite sure what the poverty level is, but it's great that I guess those people that are affected by that huge tornado are going to have some sort of relief, I guess. If you haven't seen the videos on that, it was crazy. It was a crazy tornado.
Yep, it definitely. It was. How many people passed away in that one?
Let me look.
I don't know. I mean, it was very severe, and it honestly should have been a lot more. As much damage as it been. People were very, very lucky.
4 people, so pretty lucky, honestly. That was
Yeah.
a.
Because
I
it
don't
went
know.
right through the middle of town. So it was a. I mean, it's not a huge city, but
Yeah, you can kind of see that. Maybe I can bring up some images. So here's some images, of the tornado, which is absolutely insane in Greenfield. I think last I knew it was a EF4. I don't know if they upgraded that to EF5 or not, but
the last I heard.
so yeah, here's some pictures. Everyone that was affected by that, that's just, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, we went through derecho, but this obviously, if you were directly hit, was a lot stronger.
Yeah,
As
I
you can
think
tell.
it said Iowa has 98 tornadoes on the year so far. Like the
Yeah,
most.
we're
On
the
pace
number one. Last I knew, we were number 1 in tornadoes. So, yeah. Anyways,
not the norm.
yeah. And then obviously Trump's verdict's kind of a big deal right now. And Governor Reynolds had a statement. So this kind of give you an idea where the state's leadership is at. America saw this trial for what it was, a sham. For years, Democrats like Alvin Bragg have been trying to put President Trump in jail with complete disregard for our democracy and the will of the American people. The only verdict that matters is the one at the ballot box in November, where the American people will elect President Trump again. So this channel is not really about politics. I mean, we've kind of always been kind of a purple state, but I'd say we're leaning more red, and we've had Republican leadership, at least at the governor level, for quite some time. So just kind of gives you an idea what the leadership in Iowa currently is. And we're not going to get deep into politics because that's a rabbit hole that's not even really worth getting into, if you ask me. But I do want to get into the weather now. Obviously, that's one of the big things people either see a positive or a negative with Iowa. Today is beautiful. What do you say, low 80s today, Tim? Maybe upper 70s?
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to get a little bit of rain tonight. So tomorrow, I think, it's going to be the nice day. We're supposed to get that rain, humidity to be out of the air, and it should be really nice tomorrow. Upper 70s, low 80s.
Yeah, it's been, and rather than like some places getting hit by tornadoes, like you said, I think we're by far the most tornadoes this year so far of any state, even over like Oklahoma's and Kansas's that are really, really known for that. So basically, here's our next month, and it usually AccuWeather is fairly accurate. To be honest, I track the weather pretty closely, and it's going to start getting warmer at the end of June. No surprise, upper 80s, maybe even hit that 90, 95 degree mark, because these won't be 100% accurate, but we've had a really good year rather than maybe to some people a little bit too much rain. In Cedar Rapids, the rivers are high all throughout the state. I believe they're high. Flooding. We've had a little bit of flooding. I don't think it's been anything major in the state, has it though, Tim? The flooding?
No.
No.
I think we got like minor flood stage, and that was at most for a few of the rivers.
Yeah, we do get a lot of rain. Not every year. Actually, the last few years we've been rather dry. The rivers have been low, but for a fisherman like me, I kind of like to see some rain, because some of the backwaters need, higher water so those fish can get in there, and then you can fish for them, obviously. So it's nice to see a little bit of a rising water at this time of year, because we always should in the spring, honestly, from snow melt and just spring showers, really. So tornadoes, though, have you ever seen one, Tim, in the state?
Live, No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just the derecho. I mean, that's basically a tornado.
Yeah, you're right. So I kind of want that's what I want to talk about because one of the biggest things I get asked honestly is about tornadoes specifically, right? So some people don't even know what really a tornado is because their state has so little of them. What's something that you would say like about tornadoes in general? Someone that maybe moving from another state like Florida or South Carolina, California, where they might not have the strength of the tornadoes we do. What's something that you tell them?
I mean, honestly, I don't. I don't. I mean, living in Iowa, we hear about them, but it's not something I'd be too concerned about. It's kind of like getting struck by lightning. There's not much you're going to do about it. If it happens, it happens. Um, but yeah, they just. I mean, they for the most part, I think they happen out in rural areas and knock some stuff down. But typically, the homes um, are okay unless you're in the direct path. And I mean, I think a mile wide is a huge tornado. Most of them are a few hundred yards wide to quarter mile wide. They're not as you know widespread as some people may think. Now they can stay on the ground for a long distance, but they're typically not very wide.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to know. And Scarlett, we'll get to your comment. Uh, but unless you're in the direct path of tornado, like we saw a derecho, what was it, going on 4 years now, Tim?
Yeah,
So we had a derecho, which is basically an inland hurricane, and it was bad. And I think we got the strongest ones on the southwest side, and there was 140-mile-an-hour winds that was the top speeds, and that lasted for a good 45 minutes straight. So I would say that wasn't as strong. It definitely wasn't as strong as like Greenfield, like direct path. But if we're just talking about tornadoes, you have to be in the direct path, which, like Tim said, it's only a mile wide. That's a huge one, right? So most of ours are smaller, EF1s, EF2s. They have been, I guess, you have the potential of an EF4, EF5, but they're rather rare, and you have to be the unlucky one in the state. Like, I've never actually seen a tornado in Iowa, and I've lived here my whole life. I can't remember ever actually seeing one. So they are rather rare still, but it's definitely a risk. I would say hail's more of a risk for your house and cars. You hear about that all the time. Um, I've gotten kind of lucky, but have you ever had any hail damage on your house, Tim?
yeah, cars, vehicles, house, all yeah, pretty much everything.
Yeah. So I mean, hail is a real problem, I guess, for your house and car. If you live here your entire life, you're probably going to get affected by it in some capacity. Um, if not, maybe you're like me and just kind of lucky to this point because we've had hail all around my house, honestly, and people have had to claim insurance for roofs and siding and whatnot. But Scarlett said she's nervous about the humidity in the summer. I don't know where you're at. Oh, you're in Colorado. So she's in Colorado. It is going to be an adjustment. I'll be honest with you. I personally hated the humidity for most of my life until I kind of got into more of a homesteading, or at least I want to transition in the next 5-10 years into a homesteading lifestyle. And for homesteading, humidity is excellent. So you want that humidity. It depends on your goals, but it definitely is humid here. We're consistently the top 5, top 10 at the worst. But some years we're even number 1 in humidity. And I don't know if Tim agrees with this, but I think a lot of it has to do with our corn. We have so much corn and soybeans. I think that plays a huge factor in why we're even a little more humid than the Midwestern states. What would you say, Tim?
No, yeah, I think that's been proven or scientific as to us being the leader or one of the leaders in corn production. As the corn is growing in July, it's just radiating a lot of moisture off the plant that it definitely, especially at ground height or what, I mean, it is more humid. I mean, we see it. It definitely can affect you. I mean, stepping outside and just like walking into a sauna at 85, 90 degrees and 100% humidity. I mean, it's just, you get accustomed to it. It's not fun by any means. Can't drive with your window down or nothing because it's just hot, muggy air.
Yeah, that's one thing some people might not know about Iowa, especially if you're from a southern state, is it gets bad here in the summer when it comes to humidity. I actually went to Texas last year in the summer, and it was way hotter there, which I don't know if it was better in Iowa, but it wasn't much if it was, because it was like 10, 15 degrees cooler, but it was more humid even. And I went to San Antonio. So it definitely gets uncomfortable. But if you like to grow plants, grow produce, do anything like that, it's a heck of a state. I mean, I don't know. Every time I've traveled, I can't believe all the irrigation that other states have, because you go throughout Iowa, you don't see any irrigation. So there's something about Iowa and our climate that we don't have to irrigate even. So it's crazy.
You'll see a few irrigation out there, but nothing like Nebraska, Kansas, nothing like that.
No, I rarely ever see any irrigation on any fields, and that's most of Iowa. There are a few spots I'm sure that do need to irrigate, but for the most part, that's why we're the number one producing corn state almost year in year out, unless there's a big flood.
Yeah, I guess some of that irrigation I might see along the road. I don't pay a lot of attention, but it might be for like a sod farm, or they're growing a special produce where they might have to irrigate. But for the most part, the corn and the soybeans, you don't have to irrigate.
Yeah. And then Spencer asked if there's an area more prone to tornadoes. Not really, I wouldn't say. I mean,
we have our theories. I mean, I grew up as a kid, and just south of Manchester, Ryan, they were always notorious. Hazleton, Vinton, Shellsburg area. I mean, there's some areas, now I don't think there's any science behind it, but those typically see higher winds, tornadoes, and I don't know why, but there's a line that goes through there. But not typically Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, the bigger cities. We really, knock on wood, have not had a tornado really go right through one of the bigger towns. Around Cedar Rapids, we've had tornadoes go through.
Yeah,
but not right through town.
Scarlett, so you're Montana and Iowa. So I'd have to know where in Montana, but I'm actually friends with the guy that has living in Montana. I'm sure you've seen that channel. I've got to know him recently, actually. So I don't know if you're looking in like I assume the western part of the state where, all the mountains are, but I kind of have to know more about that situation to really comment on it. But I know, Bozeman. Yeah, I've been to Bozeman quite a few times actually, and was considered moving there until I kind of got this homesteading lifestyle. It's drier, definitely, in Montana, as you probably already know. It's beautiful, though. Bozeman's absolutely gorgeous. You're going to pay a lot more money if you're looking for affordability. Iowa and Montana are not really comparable. Out there, you're looking $500,000-$600,000 for anything starting at, especially Bozeman or Kalispell area. Where Iowa, throughout the state, it's $232. Even in Des Moines, it's a little bit higher, but you can still find a lot of home for $500,000-$600,000, honestly, anywhere in the state. So anyways, that's kind of the weather. I don't know if there's any more questions, leave them in the comments. But we got Tim recently went to Grimes for his daughter's soccer, which they won, which is cool. But anyways, that's by Des Moines. So maybe you can kind of give your take on Des Moines since you recently went there, and kind of compare it with Cedar Rapids, two largest cities, Cedar Rapids and Des Moines. So we can compare the two.
Yeah, I think they're kind of honestly apples and oranges. If you want to compare cities, Cedar Rapids is a lot of blue collar, built around factories, Quaker Oats, General Mills, Red Star. I mean, there's just a lot of factory along the river. 380, where Des Moines is what they call the insurance capital of the world. They have a lot of insurance industry down there, financial institutions. So you got West Des Moines basically taking on a lot of that. And so there's getting to be an influx of people down there. I mean, I think they're well over 1 million now for population. Very up and coming. If you're familiar with like Southwest Kansas City, Overland Park, Olathe, they've had a pretty big expansion the last 10, 20 years. I would put Des Moines right there with them. Omaha has had a big expansion. But very nice putting in all kinds of sports complex down there. My daughter does soccer. We put, I don't know how many soccer fields they probably have, 6, 7, 8, with some baseball fields, softball fields. And so they're always hosting events all the time. The complex is not quite finished. The parking lot is still being done, but it's for the most part completed. They have another facility on the south side of Des Moines that has indoor ice hockey, I think 2 arenas. And so just a lot of growth out there with Jordan Creek Mall and a ton of new residential building going on west and northwest.
It was up. All right, so like he said, I do agree with him, and Craig, we'll get back to some of these comments, but I want to kind of finish up with the Cedar Rapids at Des Moines. They are the thing about Des Moines that you may or may not know. You might have learned from my channel. I don't know if I've talked about it much, but 35, which is interstate that goes from, I think, Minnesota, right, Tim, all the way down to Texas.
Yeah, straight down through the middle, basically.
And I don't know where 80, it goes from coast to coast. So Des Moines is the intersection of those two interstates, and trucking is huge in Iowa due to that. And it also, in my opinion, I've never read this anywhere, but it just makes sense to me. That's why I think our cost of goods are a lot more affordable, gas, everything, right? Because everything has to go through Iowa. It not has to, but more than likely will at that intersection. So Des Moines is kind of the crossroads, and I think that's why it's the biggest city in Iowa, is because of that. So just so you know, we have a lot of trucking jobs. We have a lot of, factory work and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that has to do with those two major interstates intersecting through Des Moines, which makes Des Moines a very safe bet to always be growing.
Yeah, they just dropped in a couple Amazon buildings as well, warehouses. So right there in Bondurant, those are all being built.
Yeah, so Des Moines, here's kind of this was it recently too, still leads the Midwest in the latest census report for fastest growing, which is no surprise. I think it's it's over 700. Well, here it says in 2023, 737,000 in the metro. So it's approaching 1 million. I would say it's going to get there. I don't know when, but it's going to get there rather quick, I'd bet, because it's definitely. I agree with this this poll, and a lot of people are considering Des Moines. Just from my YouTube channel, I get a lot of people asking about Des Moines specifically.
And it's Des Moines, not Des Moines.
Yeah, Des Moines. It's not like Illinois. It's not Illinois. It's Illinois. So if you want to know how to pronounce it and fit in if you move there, don't say Des Moines. Des Moines. Anyways, Craig asks, how would one transition from Washington State to Iowa for rural living and no job lined up?
Whew. Rural living, like what do you want to do?
Probably like Manchester, where you're from.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of rural. I mean, there's a difference between Western Iowa. That's very rural. A lot more spacious over there. Eastern Iowa was basically built on dairy farming, so there's a lot of smaller farms. Where Western Iowa is more vast, Southern Iowa is more vast, Northern Iowa and Eastern Iowa. As far as the countryside goes, there's typically a few more farms in the different sections, but a lot of it's going to custom farming, larger farmers doing more corn, more beans, custom baling for hay. Uh, you'll see more hog setups, confinement buildings, things like that. It's tough to make a go of it on the smaller recreational farmer. So those are definitely getting less and less by the day as cost of land, cost of equipment, gas, maintenance. It's tough to make a go of it if you're going to get into farming. But you can definitely live rural, find a place to work pretty much anywhere. A lot of people are hiring, so it's not that difficult to get a job.
Yeah. So here's, um, I want to piggyback off of that, and then we'll get into gas prices here. But when I talk to people, we go over goals for moving to Iowa. There's usually three different people. Some want to live in the city, like in Cedar Rapids, in Dubuque, in Des Moines, in Davenport, right? They want all the amenities of the city living, right? Then there's people that are considering the city, but would really like to be in like a suburb setting and have still a close proximity to all the shopping, all the amenities that the city could have. And then there may be people like Craig and Spencer here that I don't know exactly what they're looking for, but you don't care if you have to go 30, 45, even an hour drive to like the big box stores. So it really comes down to your goal, what you want. If you're okay living out in like a Manchester where you might be, a good 30 miles from any larger city, or in Western Iowa, then really the whole state's open for you. Honestly, there's all sorts of options. You got like a Tumwa that's growing fast in the southeast part of the state. Southwest, you have plenty of options over there. Northwest, northeast, there's always an area for, like, if you truly want rural living, pretty much the entire state's open to you, honestly.
Yeah, the western is going to be more flat. Northeast, if you want hills, streams, not really square sections is kind of what we call them. In most traditional farms, you see the nice square fence lines and flat cornfields. That's going to be central, western Iowa. Northeast is going to be quite a bit more hilly, a lot more state parks, hunting, fishing, that sort of thing would be your northeast quadrant.
All right, so he's thinking about Winterset, Iowa.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Winterset. I know it's over there. Is it south of Des Moines?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm going to bring it up.
I don't think it's too far from Des Moines. I want to say 20 minutes southwest of Des Moines, if I recall correctly. I've never been there.
I've heard of it. I have heard of Winterset, Iowa. So, is this Winterset?
Actually, I think it's over there by Greenfield, to be honest.
So Winterset, yeah, southwest of Iowa, or Des Moines.
Yeah, so Greenfield should be right in there where that tornado was. Yeah, it's just east of Greenfield.
Yeah, by Creston, kind of. Yep. So, yeah, Winterset was only, I don't know how many miles, but not far from that big tornado for sure. And so it looks like Urbandale's a nice area. One of them's considering Urbandale. I don't know if you see that, Tim.
Oh, yeah, that's right there by Grimes. That's right where I was this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Des Moines has so many awesome suburbs, and Urbandale's definitely one of them, right? So
Urbandale, Grimes, Waukee. I mean, if you're going to be west, that's what all those are. If you're going to go a little bit further north, you run into Ankeny up there. But yeah, the Urbandale, the Waukees, they're split in high schools right now. So if you want larger schools, they definitely have larger schools. But when you go to these places, the high schools are like college campuses. I mean, they got brand new stadiums, brand new schools, very nice facilities.
Yeah, and you're by Saylorville Lake. You're within close drive. I mean, Des Moines really growing. It's so much bigger than even Cedar Rapids. It's by far just the mecca of Iowa. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really go wrong with any of the suburbs, but Urbandale is definitely a highly regarded suburb. There's no doubt about it. Now,
Yeah,
one asked about Waterloo. I'll bring it up. We're pretty close to Waterloo, but I'll bring it up on the map.
45 minutes to an hour for us to get to Waterloo.
Waterloo is to people that are reaching out is not desirable as Cedar Falls. Most people that are reaching out to me are really interested in Cedar Falls. It seems like Waterloo definitely has its nice areas, though. There's nice suburbs as well, like a Gilbertville, Dunkerton. My wife's from up in New Hampton, which is still, it's a good 45 minutes from Waterloo. But you have the University of Northern Iowa. I don't know if you know that, Craig. It's a nice area. I went to school there for a couple of years, which is just on the north side of, or right in Cedar Falls. So let's see here. That's the river system. Here's like the Unidome, UNI's football stadium. The campus is going to be right where I'm kind of circling. So that's one thing to know about Waterloo, Cedar Falls area. It is probably the third largest university, when you say, in the state, Tim.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think they're bigger than Drake.
So I don't know how well people know on this, but Iowa State's actually the largest university in Iowa, and then it goes Iowa, University of Iowa, and then probably UNI and Drake. I don't know if Drake's bigger than, if they're similar, or they'd be 3 and 4 if not. But UNI is definitely a nice campus. Nice. I really like Waterloo, Cedar Falls. I think it's kind of. I really like the George Wythe State Park, and the Cedar River is absolutely gorgeous up there. I actually caught my biggest walleye ever. It would have been right up here, but that thing was over 30 inches. So I don't know if anyone here knows how big that is, but that's big in Iowa. So anyways, that's kind of the geography. If you got more questions, make sure to leave them in the comments, but we're kind of going to go on to some things that you may not know about Iowa, some of the biggest news stories, and it involves Iowa women's basketball. And I'll bring up so Lisa Bluter was the Iowa women's basketball coach. Caitlin Clark's really blown up, not just women's college basketball, but also now the WNBA. I don't know if anyone here kind of follows that, but Lisa Bluter was a coach for 24 years, and now her assistant is going to be the new coach. And I think they got some really good recruits. So it's looking like Iowa basketball, if Jensen can kind of keep it up, we might be a powerhouse for a few years. I don't know how long it'll last, but they're kind of the talk of the town, when you say, Tim.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, they're selling out every game. I mean, obviously we had the Caitlin Clark effect. So now it's a matter of we can maintain that momentum and keep people attending the games and watching games, because it's really done a lot for the sport of all schools. I mean, when they were going, I think they sold out every single arena they went to as an away game. So it was good for everybody in the sport. And now it's just like any other team. As people get traded, people graduate, you got to be able to sustain the locker room, the quality on the court, and it's a tough game to play. So we'll see how they do with the new group of girls.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlin Clark's kind of been the talk of the town, even on like ESPN's lately, because some people are, I guess, thinking that they're too hard on her, following her, and all that stuff. So we'll see how long this lasts. She's kind of got that Steph Curry effect where she hits long threes and all the kids like it. We're kind of in the crosshairs, and we see it. Everyone that I knew in my neighborhood and Cedar Rapids, for example, we both live in the Cedar Rapids area. It's only 30 minutes from Iowa City. So I knew a lot of people. I'm sure Tim knows a lot of people with season passes And a lot of the kids are excited about basketball, especially girls basketball. It's nice to see. So, yeah, I agree with that, Scarlett. People are way too mean. You. This is just kind of a story that goes hand in hand. But there's an Iowa quarterback. I don't even remember his name anymore, Tim. But people were hating on him like because so bad. I don't remember. Was that the last year's quarterback or the year before? I don't know. But yeah, people get mean. That's for sure. And she's what, 22, 23 years old. It's just a sport, but she's also getting paid a lot of money, and she doesn't have it that bad either. So, but yeah, it's a little bit unwarranted. Some of the stuff I bet she gets in her mailbox, and it's part of being, I guess, famous and popular. But Tim, one of the biggest things that I've had in my questions that I don't know, I don't really know how to answer this because I don't know what's real information. I don't know what's misinformation. Anything around health can kind of be a sticky subject, but a lot of people are worried about the cancer crisis in Iowa, and I have no proof for this, but if I was to speculate, I do agree with this article that it goes from like glyphosate and stuff they spray on all the crops that we grow in Iowa. And it's definitely something that you want to know about Iowa before you move here. We are pretty high. I don't have a graph here, but I've seen statistics saying that we're one of the highest cancer rates in all of the world, in all of the United States. So you got anything to say about that, Tim?
No, I don't. I mean, it's obviously cancer's been around a while. They keep finding new forms of cancer. Um, but I would agree with packaged foods to chemicals being used to sun to, I mean, almost, I mean, think of something that not is not considered somewhat cancerous. I mean, this everywhere you go, between breathing and being outside in the sun and eating and everything else. So, um, and I don't know if it's worse in Iowa or what, but I mean, it definitely does seem to be a thing of concern with, people always. I mean, the good thing typically is they're finding it early enough to help people, but not everybody's lucky enough to uh, detect it early and take care of it as soon as they can.
Yeah, my mouse actually died on me, so I'm gonna have to charge it until just to cancel the stream. But I would bring up there was a recent poll that came out that some people have commented on some of my past videos about, and Iowa is like I think number one in the fastest growing cancer rates in the last. I don't remember how many years, but there was a recent poll that came out, and that's kind of what made some people comment and ask about it. And I don't know if I'll ever cover it because honestly, I don't even know how to cover that. I don't know what's true, what's false. And I don't know. I'd have to think about a way to present that seemed accurate. And I haven't looked deep into the poll, honestly, but I did want to mention that there was a poll that came out that cancer could be higher here. We do have radon here, Scarlett, but I don't think we have a pretty. We do inspections for that, so I don't think that would be it because we've had radon for probably the entire time I've been alive and ever since humanity's been around Iowa. I'm sure. I think spraying the crops and for pesticides and herbicides may be part of that, but it's hard to tell. But anyways, Tim, the state fair's coming up. What, in probably a couple months? When is the state fair? August.
August. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I kind of want to bring up. It's kind of a big deal around here. I've been there a number of times. It's actually even cooler than I remember as a kid. I went there a couple of years ago. Do you go, Tim?
I have been there before. Now with the kids, they basically do the concerts. So Jones County State Fair, even some of the smaller county fairs are getting some pretty big name country singers. So the kids always want to go see them. So I think there's one up at Fayette we might be going to. I can't remember who's playing up there, but typically the Delaware County is bringing some people in. So we're starting to see more competition for the musicians to play at these county fairs. So, but obviously the state fair is 10 days long. It's kind of the mecca after all the other county fairs are done. Uh, Everybody rolls into Des Moines for a solid week, over a week
Yep.
of entertainment. They've done a great job with the fairgrounds, the food, all the vendors that are down there, and all the exhibits that you have. I mean, if you want a snapshot of Iowa, that pretty much sums it up down there at the state fair.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What are a couple other things you'd recommend people do, or if they're going to tour the area in this late spring, early summer?
I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot of tourism activities. I know people that do a lot of camping. There's a lot of campgrounds people like to hang out at. We have a decent amount of rivers with the Mississippi. People can go up and down that and hang out. Um, just touring the countryside, relaxing. But I'm trying to think what. I mean, actually, a lot of these smaller towns have their weekend little festivals. Those can always be fun sometimes. Hanging out, Soul and Beef Days, things like that. Every town typically has their weekend, so those are always kind of cool to go visit a new town and hang out and see what they got to bring, because they all try to do something unique and stand separate from all the other towns. But you'll see some car cruises out there if you're into old cars. Actually, I think it's this weekend or next weekend. Northeast Iowa is doing a tractor brigade where they're having 100, 200, 300 tractors. I think the hub is Manchester. And then for like 4 or 5 days straight, they're going to visit a small town and drive tractors to and from for a few days. So kind of cool if you're into the rural activities.
Yeah. And I actually got to go show someone that reached out from YouTube here. So we're going to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. But to go off that, if you're a religious person, the redemption of the grotto, I've been there. It's pretty darn cool. It's basically this awesome artifact. Look it up. It's called Grotto of the Redemption again. I definitely recommend that if you're into, anything religious with like Jesus or Mary or any of that. That's one thing to do. I think there's like a popcorn area of Iowa too, isn't there, Tim? Like, I think there's like some big popcorn thing in Western Iowa. That's another thing. Des Moines, Dubuque, cool. You can go.
Caves.
Makokata caves are really cool. I think there's even caves in like Dubuque too. I know my hometown, Anamosa, there's some caves, believe it or not, in that park. But there's all sorts of cool things to do, honestly. And I've done some videos on them, so make sure you check those out. But those are kind of some of those off the top of my head. And then if you're coming in that August, you definitely want to hit up the state fair. And like you said, there's all these county fairs too that are kind of some of them are hidden gems. Honestly, they have some really good concerts, and they're not quite as big as the state fair, but they have some cool stuff.
Yeah, I guess Waterloo put in the new amusement park. I've not been there yet either. Water park and amusement park up there, Waterloo, Cedar Falls.
I heard that's really cool. Year-round activities. I like to ice fish, so that kind of is my activity in the winter. But like we have a jump park. It's really cool if you have kids. And what's it called? AirFX in Cedar Rapids here, and I'm sure there's some in Des Moines.
There's a ton in Des Moines.
Ice skating, you usually there's indoor, and if you find the right area where people take care of like the ice, there's ice skating and stuff like that. Hunting's big in the winter around here, but year round, I mean, a little bit of everything.
A lot of people are doing side by sides, weekend little gravel travel with their side by sides, visiting small towns. That's becoming more popular.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you like the small town, every town's a little bit different. Like we have like Ely. Ely's super cool. It's got some really cool, like, it's It's got a really good ice cream shop, a really good bakery. There's just really cool stuff all throughout the state, really, that if you do your research, I like the Mississippi River Valley, like kind of up by Guttenberg, Dubuque, all throughout, all the way up north to, the border to Minnesota. That's really cool, like LeClaire along the Mississippi. So those are some things. But first live, hopefully you guys got something out of it. I got to run. I got to go show a home. But thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone, for your engagement. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we answered the questions. If not, save them for a couple weeks from now. I'll probably do another one. This went over really well. So thanks, everyone. And I guess we'll see you probably in a couple weeks. And make sure you check out my videos every Sunday.
See you guys. Thanks.
Yep.